Hello and welcome back to the Premier Injuries channel with one of our injury insights into a big star in the Premier League. This one is going to hit the Red Devils hard because Varane has been ruled out and they've not been in good form defensively recently as well. So Ben, first and foremost, can you tell us what has happened to him?
Yeah, so we've had an official update from the club today, which is Tuesday. We've seen Raphael Varane forced off in Sunday's Nations League final against Spain. Now, at the time, we suspected it was a groin problem. We've seen the centre-back applying ice to the inner part of his thigh, which was an indication that it was in and around that adductor. Now, of course, the club don't divulge the precise nature of the injury, but it looks as if it is mechanism to show that it is an adductor problem. And again, we thought at the time that it was possibly a grade 1 or a grade 2 tear. We ruled out a grade 3 rupture or extensive damage to that muscle due to the fact that he was out celebrating with his teammates post-match. And, the update from Manchester United, which said that Varane will be out for around a few weeks, is an indication of it around that sort of grade 1, borderline grade 2, which is in and around maybe 14 to 21 days.
And so this is going to hit the Red Devils hard, 14 to 21 days. They have one of the worst runs in the Premier League now from game week 8 onwards. Next up, they've got Leicester, Liverpool, Tottenham, Man City, Watford, and Chelsea up to the 28th of November. It's not the easiest stretch by any imagination, but adding to that, they've been pretty poor recently, both in attack, but especially defence. So looking at the team, who is going to be coming in there? Because there's already an injury to Maguire.
There is. Harry Maguire picked up a calf strain. That's ruled him out of the current internationals for England. Ollie was being very coy on whether his skipper would return for United. It looks at this point in time as if Maguire is going to miss out. And I stress, it looks, we're still 3 to 4 days before that final decision will be made. However, the nature of that injury as well, high re-injury, high recurrence, you don't want to rush him back. So we'll assume at this point that Harry Maguire is also sidelined. So that leaves Ollie with limited options, really. Now, we've seen Victor Lindelof come in for Harry Maguire, before the break. So, providing he comes through the internationals, and he's currently playing for Sweden at this moment, if he comes through that, then, he's going to be a shoo-in. He's going to be nailed at centre-back. And there had been a lot of talk about the possibility of maybe Phil Jones coming back into that United first team. He's played a couple of games for the under-23s, and he's also been named on the United bench for their recent Carabao Cup defeat, I think it was by Everton. However, I still think it's a little bit early in his time in recovering from that long-term knee injury. So the only other viable option really is Eric Bailly. Now, Eric Bailly hasn't had any minutes for United this season, but he has played for the Ivory Coast. Now, he is away with the national team, who just had a 2-legged World Cup qualifier with Malawi. Now, he was actually absent from the matchday squad in their first game last week. I don't know the reasons as to why that occurred, but he did play in the second leg, and he played all 90 minutes. So given the fact that the Ivory Coast have already played, and it looks as if he's come through that with plenty of recovery time, I would expect that centre-back partnership to be Bailly and Lindelof.
That will be an interesting one as well, because looking at last season's data, Manchester United were not very good defensively in the last 9 games. They were conceding over 1.3 goals per game. They had an XG conceded of over 1 per game, and that was Lindelof with Maguire in that centre-back partnership there. So there's kind of question marks and worries over Lindelof anyway. I think that's the reason why Manchester United went out and got Varane. But the fact that their 2 best centre-backs are now out will add extra concern there. And I guess looking at it as well, people might be convinced that Jamie Vardy might do bits against them this weekend. He was a player in form, and now would you say that's a really good game for him?
I mean, it's difficult because Leicester have been so poor this season, and I'm a little bit reluctant, to go on any Leicester asset. However, if there was somebody that you wanted to pick out of that Foxes squad, then Jamie Vardy would be a man. He's a player that does transcend fixtures. He maybe is a little bit boring on the eye. He doesn't get involved too much. Although this season his numbers are a lot better, but he certainly knows where that onion bag is, and you can never rule him out. He's never far away from a goal. I think that's 6 he's already got this season, and he's always outperforming that XG. So rule Jamie Vardy out at your peril.
So the final question for you is: when can we expect to see the best Manchester United back line back into the team?
Yeah, so I mean, with Harry Maguire, I think the initial timeline suggested there was an outside chance for game week 8. Possibility, more realistic might be game week 9. But again, these injuries have got to be managed very carefully. So these are tentative return dates. With Varane, I think realistically, if we're looking at maybe game week 10 or just before the end of October, then we should be in a really good place. Ideally, if they haven't suffered any further setbacks with any of the other players.
Well, this is the thing. This is what happened with Liverpool. Once they had a couple of injuries in their centre-back positions, played people out of position, then a load of problems occurred. But that is the wrap-up of the update there, just to give you a bit of context to the injury and explain Raphael Varane and what to expect over the coming weeks. But for now, I'm going to wish you the best of luck with your teams. It's another, important update there before game week 8 starts so that you don't make any rash decisions. We did say hold on to those transfers for as long as possible because anything can and will happen. But for now, goodbye.